The president has the authority to fire those who are not aligned with his mission. That she was not aligned with the president's mission to make America healthy again.
The CDC has problems. We need to look at the priorities of the agency. If there's really a deeply, deeply embedded, I would say, malaise at the agency.
This is an example on the part of the secretary of failed leadership and administrative incompetence.
Well, the CDC shakeup happening. New York Times writing it this way: standoff, Kennedy's push to fire director dissolves into chaos. Devolves. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention dissolved into further turmoil on Thursday when guards escorted 3 top officials from the agency's Atlanta headquarters. High-ranking officials decided to quit as Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was demanding that CDC Director Susan Manares either resign or be fired in a dispute largely over vaccine policy. Late today, the White House tapped top RFK Jr. deputy as acting CDC director. The selection of Jim O'Neill, says the Washington Post, reflects Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s influence as he seeks to remake federal vaccine policy. We'll start there with our panel. Fox News contributor Byron York, Leslie Marshall, also a Fox News contributor, and Mark Halperin, editor-in-chief of Two-Way. Mark, it was only a month in for the new CDC director, and there was a standoff here. And it is now a shakeup. Thoughts?
I don't love this, and neither do a lot of Republican senators. This is too serious an area affecting too many families and kids to have this uncertainty. And I don't know the truth, and I suspect nobody on this panel does, about is Bobby Kennedy shaking things up in the right direction, or, as some people with a lot of credentials claim, imperiling the nation's health. I hope that some combination of the executive branch and the Congress can get to the bottom of it before flu season.
Yeah. The CDC leaders who walked out in this shakeup held sort of a rally with people outside the CDC today. Take a listen.
I'm very concerned for the health of people in America and the security of the nation because of what's happening to CDC. You can't dismantle public health and expect public health to be protected.
I mean, we'd reached a tipping point when it comes to vaccine policy, losing our staff, losing ground on non-communicable programs. We had to speak up.
We came to the same conclusion. We saw that the science was not being the driver for what we were trying to do.
Leslie, thoughts?
Yeah, to Mark's point, I would agree with some of what he said. And I've been interviewing experts, actual doctors who went to medical school. And this is an area where there isn't a left or right. There is science, there are facts, and not just about vaccines. As somebody who buried my son from mitochondrial dysfunction with a terminal illness called Canavans, I think I know a little bit about mitochondria. And you can't tell by a child's face. Some of the things that are being said by Robert Kennedy Jr. are not only not scientifically based, they're frightening within the medical community. And that's why we're seeing dozens of people. It's not just the person at the head, being let go. It's not just the shakeup. It's what's happening as a result. And it's not just vaccine policy. There is a line in the sand where these people fear that they cannot control what's going on, and that it could have a negative impact on the health of this nation and our children especially.
Byron, on the flip side, the supporters of RFK Jr. as health secretary say that he is shaking things up in a time where there are real concerns about specifically the COVID-19 vaccine and its impacts and what happened to it. That's the supporters of RFK Jr.
Well, obviously there were a lot of people in the Senate who liked what they heard from RFK Jr. about health issues like food additives, diet, that sort of stuff, that has a lot of support. So don't forget that. And if this were only about coronavirus and the vaccine for coronavirus, I'm not sure the politics of it would be quite the same. But we know RFK Jr. has been a vaccine skeptic for a very, very long time, long before COVID, and turmoil in the healthcare bureaucracy was pretty much a given once he arrived as head of HHS. He's not going to change his ideas. He still goes on about autism and vaccine and other issues. So this is, I think Mark was suggesting, this is something that the president's probably going to have to settle, and I think it's going to get to that level really soon.
Yeah, and he did say, Secretary Kennedy said that there will be an announcement on a rollout in September of what they see with autism and the causes. I want to turn to crime and this continuing back and forth, Mark. Here is Caroline Leavitt on the governor from Illinois.
We've been seeing the governor of Illinois parading out there saying that there's nothing wrong with Chicago. It's a great place to live. There's no crime there. He doesn't need President Trump's help. Well, I think the residents of Chicago beg to differ, and the statistics beg to differ. And this is Governor Pritzker's legacy. He should put politics aside.
Well, if they wanted a political fight, they have it. Governor Pritzker taking to X, saying, unlike Donald Trump, we keep our promises. We will not stand idly by. If he decides to send the National Guard to intimidate Chicagoans, action will be met with a response. Now, the AP says the administration is already asking a military base outside Chicago for support on immigration operations. So it seems like it's coming to a head here, Mark.
I don't like to label my jokes, but I'll label this one. This is a joke. The president couldn't ask for better foils than the governor of Illinois and the mayor of Chicago. I suspect they're secretly on his team because they're not proposing to stop crime. They're arguing everything else. The statistics aren't true. This is an abuse of power. Trump has a secret army. President Trump is pretty smart. He's on the side of the status quo not being acceptable, just like he was on immigration. And I don't know why these Democrats are making it so easy for him. We need to be vigilant that he not abuse this system and the deployment of federal force. But so far, the D.C. example suggests this is good for the people of D.C.
Yeah, Leslie, the stay tuned from President Trump. He said Governor Pritzker had 6 murders in Chicago this weekend. 20 people were shot, but he doesn't want to ask me for help. Can this be possible? The people are desperate for me to stop the crime, something the Democrats aren't capable of doing. Stay tuned. President DJT. That did not have, thanks for the attention to this matter, but ending it that way.
Yeah, well, you know, statistics are lovely if we read them. And when I read them in 2024 versus now in 2025, Chicago has a significant decrease in homicides and shootings, 49%, almost half in carjackings.
Leslie, it's still
you know,
huge
look, it's not Disney World. Right? Yeah, it did not. It's not Disney World. I lived there for 4 years. It's a beautiful city, but like most major cities in America, it has crime. Here are a couple of problems, though, Brett. You bring in the National Guard like you saw in D.C. You know, where are you putting them? You're putting them where, you know, the tourists are, or are you putting them in the bad neighborhoods? 1. 2, it's hurting businesses. We're seeing that in D.C. 3, you're pulling resources, National Guard, that red states are sending from their states that have crime and problems, sometimes higher than some of these cities they're sending the National Guard to. There are 53 cities that have higher crime rates in D.C., as an example, to these cities, and neglecting, you know, their own. And then lastly, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, and I know Republican's going to be nice to a Republican president, and being in a state where my governor definitely likes to get in a fight every day with the president, the governors of these states want to be asked, because that's really the way it's supposed to go down, that they request the National Guard from the President of the United States.
Quickly, Byron, I mean, I would just say, listening to Mayor Bowser, I don't see that there's a huge pushback from businesses in D.C., and in fact, a lot of them like it. But last word.
No, the mayor expressed some thanks for the extra police protection. Go to the Associated Press poll about this. 53% said they approve of what Trump is doing on crime. 55% said they basically approve of National Guard participation. And if you ask the whole nation, is crime a major problem in the big cities? 81% say yes. The Democrats need to think about these numbers.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.